right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Today is December 3rd, 2025, and the time is 9:42 a.m. Warden, would you and your staff please introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I'm Darrell Vanoy. I'm the warden.
Ashley Olivo, Deputy Warden.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
Carmen Shipley, Vendor Records.
Jody Sturgeon, Program Consultant.
That's it.
All right, thank you. And
Thank
we
you.
have Mr. Williams before us. Mr. Williams, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Milton Williams. My DOC is 348231.
All right, and you have counsel with you this morning. Counsel, would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project, here on behalf of Mr. Milton Williams.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Williams, let me just read the information into the record and we'll get started. So you are currently serving a 99-year sentence for a second-degree murder conviction in Orleans Parish. Your sentence was originally a life sentence. However, it was commuted December 7th, 2022 to the 99 years with parole eligibility. So your parole eligibility date was determined to be December 7th, 2022. And that's why we're here today. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Your case this morning has been assigned to Mr. Prater, so I'm going to turn it over to him, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Prater.
What I'd like to do to start with is for you to tell us exactly what you did to get you there, what you've done since you've been there to make us convinced that you're rehabilitated and truly a different person. We hear that a lot. I'm not the same person I was. I want you to convince me you're not the same person you were.
Yes, sir. October 21st, 1993. I was at home. We were having some tile work done in Milton Jr.'s bathroom by a man named Fred. My wife, Mrs. Karen Denise Sturgis Williams, and I ran a small plumbing business. I got a call from one of the regular customers. I checked with my wife and I told her that I had a call to go out to do a plumbing job, and did she want me to ask Mr. Fred to leave or let him finish doing the ceramic tile. She said it was okay. Go ahead and do the plumbing job. I went out and I went and picked up my helper. My helper and I went on a plumbing job. We did the job. And on the way back, we decided to stop and get a few drinks. So we did a little drinking. And before I knew it, it was around 9 or 9:30 at night. I headed home. I dropped him off first, and I headed home. And when I got home, my wife was fussing about me being drunk. Went on a plumbing job and stayed out and get drunk. So I was trying to build a case on her by having the plumbing guys, the tile guy still there. And I started telling her what this guy doing in my house at 10 o'clock at night. But really, I didn't suspect nothing. I was just trying to stop her from fussing at me by building a case on her. So I walked around her, and she still, Fred, at this time, Mr. Fred left. And I walked around her, and she still was fussing. I went up the stairs, and I went in the bedroom, and she was still following behind me, fussing. I took off my clothes, was preparing to go and take a shower. She would not let me go in the shower. She was constantly telling me about myself. And I knew she was right, because she had told me so many times about my alcohol problem. And I just didn't I wanted her to stop because what she was saying was right. And I the gun was on a nightstand. I picked up the gun, waving it around, trying to scare her. And evidently, my finger hit the trigger and I pulled the trigger and shot my wife. And when that happened, I dropped the gun and I ran to my wife to see, but she was not responsive. So what I did was I grabbed the phone and I called my mother-in-law and I told her what happened. And then when I hung up from her, I called 911 and I talked to them on the phone for a while. And my son came in the room and asked me what happened. And I told him I had the gun in my hand and the gun went off by mistake. And I I turned my wife on her back and I started doing chest impressions because I had CPR training. I was doing chest impressions. She started breathing and I checked for a pulse. And when I checked for the pulse, she had a slight pulse. So I turned on her side. And by this time, the police was at the door downstairs. So I ran downstairs and opened the door and the police came in and I led them upstairs to where my wife was at. Then they brought me downstairs and read me my rights. And then the EMTs came and they went upstairs. And by this time, the police took me and brought me to the police station and arrested me for second-degree murder. I went to trial, got convicted, and sent to prison. While in prison, I thought about what I had done, and I did an evaluation on myself. I took inventory to see what's going on in my life. I realized that my life had become unmanageable. So I finally admitted that I was powerless over alcohol and mind-altering substance. So I took advantage of the opportunities that the Louisiana Penitentiary have to offer for its education, therapeutic classes, such as Alcohol Anonymous, Living in Balance 1 and 2, Substance Abuse, Anger Management, Victim Awareness, Thinking for a Change, and several other classes. Over the years, because of the education and the training and the factual knowledge, I learned to use rational thinking to make better choices in life, to overcome my addiction, to build healthy relationships, and live a pro-social lifestyle. Now, I realize education, training, and factual knowledge won't guarantee excellence, but excellence is impossible without it. I learned through Alcohol Anonymous that being addicted to alcohol and mind-altering substance is a disease, an incurable disease, but it can be treated. Perhaps the most impressive example, the courageous transformation achieved by millions of members of Alcohol Anonymous. At my last parole hearing, I was admonished to take Thinking for a Change, Victim Awareness. I took Thinking for a Change, and in Thinking for a Change, I learned to pay attention to my thinking, realize the risks, and use new thinking. In the STAR program, I learned that your thoughts turn to feelings, and your feelings will determine your behavior. In victim awareness, I learned empathy. I learned that the victim family have rights. I learned that the victim family deserve the utmost respect. Not only is the primary victim, the secondary victims as well, even the unborn children. I was given an opportunity by the reentry program to be a lead mentor. When I came to this prison, I came here a licensed plumber. I worked in every camp as a plumber. I even did the VIP section in the rodeo arena. In every phase of plumbing I've worked. And in 2013, when I finished New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary with an associate's and a bachelor's degree, I was offered the job as a lead mentor in the reentry program. I was given a golden opportunity to learn how to deal with so many personalities and to be the father that I should have been to my children. And I have over 50 or 60 graduates that came out of my class from all across the state of Louisiana. I've taught the plumbing trade to Angola students, Felt students, and many, many reentry students to help cut down on the recidivism rate. I even taught life skills, not just plumbing, but I taught life skills, and I told them my story so that they won't have the same problem that I had. I told them the dangers of alcohol. I told them the good about getting a trade and how they could make their family happy, their children, their wife, their mother, and try to avoid coming back to prison. I've taken.
Mr. Williams, let's hold your thoughts right there. And let's
Yes,
move
sir.
on to the board, and then we'll come back to you before this is over with. If that's okay with you. A person can only listen for so long and retain what's been said. And you got a very interesting story, and I don't think I've ever heard an interview any better, anybody better prepared than yourself. And
Thank you,
so
sir.
let's pause it right there. And if that's okay with you, Ms. Hutchinson, and then we'll move on. Warden, what about this fella?
Well, as you said, Milton spoke very well for himself, and how he spoke to you today is how he carries himself every day here. He went through everything that he's achieved since he's been here, and that's correct. He did leave out that he was honorably discharged from the Navy in '74. And that's about the only thing that he left out that's on my list. But he's a model guy. He's a trustee. He's a lead mentor. He does exactly what he told y'all that he does every day. He's a model president.
Okay. Well, I trust you and I respect that word from you. We'll take that into consideration also. Okay, Mr. Williams, what we'd like to do now is hear from some of your supporters, and then we want to hear from, we've got a few people that may want to speak in opposition to this request, and then we'll come back to you and ask some questions and let you finish up your response or what you had to say. And so, having said that, let's move on to Ms. Hutchison. We'll save you till last, if that's okay, of the supporters. And Andrew Hunley, would you start us off, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Andrew Hunley, representing Louisiana Parole Project, here to confirm to the board that Milton is a client of our organization, and should the board grant him parole release, that our organization is prepared to accept him into our reentry program. As the board's aware, this is Milton's second parole hearing. We stood by him during his previous hearing, and for many of the reasons that Milton described, that his attorney will describe, our organization has great confidence in his ability to be successful if he's given an opportunity at release. And we base that on his institutional record. He obviously has an excellent disciplinary record, an excellent work record, and he's gone above and beyond with the reentry program and training many young men to become plumbers who have gone home and have had successful careers. I know the board oftentimes tasked at figuring out if individuals, if they're granted parole, can they abide by the conditions? What I would point out to the board was, after denial, Milton did exactly what the board asked him to do. He took the programming that was expected of him. He didn't quit being a mentor or give up. He's continued to do what he's done over the last few decades. He's an exceptional parole candidate as far as our work is concerned. We have great confidence that he would be able to follow all recommendations and requirements, and that's based on what we see that he does day to day in prison and what he's done since his last parole hearing. If he is granted release, we have great confidence that we're going to be able to help him with employment. Although Mr. Wilson's, in his 70s, he is in good health and employable, and he's great skilled, and his trade is one that is often highly sought after. So we have great confidence we'll be able to connect him to employment. We would let the board know that we've expressed to him that we would like him to remain in housing with us through phases 1 and 2 of our program before he moves on to his long-term address. But just in summation, we have great confidence in his ability to be successful in our organization. I know you have letters from our organization, from our social work team, who's done an assessment and are prepared to help him enact a sobriety plan upon release, and also our employment program, who's prepared to assist him with employment. We have already invested a lot of time and are ready to invest all the resources our organization has to offer to ensure Milton's long-term success. And I stand by to answer any questions you may have about his reentry plan. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate the work that your organization does, and we appreciate those words. Now, Mr. Williams, we'll hear from your daughter first, and then we'll move on to your granddaughter. So, Carol Webster, the daughter, and she is at LSP. Would you talk to us, please?
Hi, how you doing? I'm Carol Webster.
Okay.
I want to start off by saying that I go to Bible class, and in my Bible class, they teach us forgiveness. And in forgiveness, we want to release somebody from something that they did and understand that they don't really have control over everything. And I do understand that we have somewhat control because we're in these vessels, but God has dictated how things are going to go no matter what. It's in the Bible, and it's said that at the end of times, things are going to go a certain way. We can't escape some of those things. We can't. I'm going to secondly say that my dad was a good dad. He was a good dad. I can't give him no shakes on that. He taught us many things. how to be responsible. We work, we have jobs, we take care of ourselves, we socialize with each other, we keep in good positive conduct so where we don't get in any trouble. Now we all as kids had problems, but we've learned that you can make a mistake, you can get another chance. My mom, this is third, my mom was a very forgiving person. She taught us about forgiveness and she also believed highly in second chances. And they were in love. They loved each other. I saw lots of that. We grew up with a lot of love. I can't say nothing negative about that because I learned how to love growing up with experimenting, but I always had a solid thing to look back on, some solid stuff of what you're not supposed to do, what you can do, things like that as well. I feel like he should get out. I feel like God is in control of this. I'm going to say that again. And I forgive him. And I could speak for all the siblings. We forgive him. And we don't have a problem with him being out. We actually need a father figure in our lives. We need that. Our children and the grandchildren are also missing out,
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Okay, let's move on to the granddaughter.
Actually, excuse me, our third speaker was Mr. Mead. I'm not sure. We didn't have did you?
I've got KNIA.
No, I ain't gonna have no granddaughter that's gonna speak.
Well,
I think they're just
Not a
this is
granddaughter.
a big day for you, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding.
they're just watching and support. Mr. Mead is the third speaker.
Okay, KNIA Williams, is that who you're talking about?
Yes, they're just here in support watching. We have Mr. Mead present who is gonna speak, the third speaker for support.
Okay, let's hear that then. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Dr. Mead.
Dr. Mead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak for Mr. Williams. My name is Dr. Patrick Mead. I'm the senior pastor for our Safe Harbor Church. We have about 80 men in this facility, and so we're down here to visit them frequently. I'm also a former psychologist who went on to become a neuroscientist, and I train federal law enforcement agencies in this country, Canada, and also in Europe. So I've got a lot of experience talking to both sides of the wire. I'm not in the habit of speaking for incarcerated individuals. In fact, in my 68 years, this is the first time I have come to a hearing on behalf of a prisoner. And I've made this exception because I believe that Mr. Williams is exceptional in every single way. I've known him for 4 years now. And some of our members who have known him for much longer, one of them said recently, he is the most rehabilitated man I have ever known. And I concur with that assessment. I read his packet. I've visited with him. He has taken every step, every course, every opportunity to become a new person, a better man in his time here in a penitentiary. And that leads me to the reason really why I felt motivated to come and speak for this man. People need the promise of hope, the possibility of redemption. We're wired that way. When our hearts are changed and when our minds have been cleansed, we seek ways to become free of who we used to be. We search for a renewal. I see that in Milton. If we rob a man of his ability to be redeemed and renewed, we not only kill his spirit, we kill the spirits of others who have witnessed him do these ceaseless efforts. See the fundamental changes that he made with great determination and effort go for naught. I don't want us to see him dismissed, his prayers, the countless hours in counseling, the 12-step programs. He's moved from being a man out of control and addicted to a man sober, clear-minded, and a spiritual leader among his men. I do understand the need to punish people for the wrong they've done. Mr. Williams has been punished for decades. I know the pain caused by taking a human life lives on in the family and community forever. I know that personally, and I know that that must be true here. But the community also needs faith, hope, and love. Those three things that St. Paul said are all that remain. And if they're taken from us, what kind of people will we become? These are not questions I'm asking you as much as I ask myself when I see this situation. Mr. Williams is not the man who committed this crime anymore. He's a thoroughly changed individual. Every cell in his body has been replaced many times, but more important, he is a new man spiritually. He's become a leader. I will call him a noble man, a spiritual guide, and he's a trustworthy friend. He is welcome in my home. He is welcome in my life. He has a church behind him as well as many of his family. He has friends to make sure he has a soft landing on the other side of this flyer. So in conclusion, I know of nothing more a human can do. And what I'm asking you to do, and I know your job is difficult, but I'm asking you to recognize the reality of the new Milton Williams and restore to him and to those who are watching the outcome of this proceeding, the possibility of redemption, of faith, hope, and love. That's my request and prayer. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Excuse me, I got a throat problem. Miss Hutchinson, would you talk to us, please?
Thank you, board. I got a little throat problem too. So I think what we see here today in his hearing, as well as his previous parole hearing, his clemency hearing, warden's comments over time, the consistency we see is that Milton has spent decades pouring into others. In my brief I've submitted, you'll see evaluation letters from students that talk about him turning his plumbing class into a life skills class. One student saying that, he makes, he wants us to be successful working and family men. He teaches me to be the skills that I need to be a better father, son, and man in society. Milton wanted to add character, integrity, and respect into his class because these were young men whose sentences won't require them to be incarcerated for the rest of their life. So they still had a chance. And he didn't want them to make the grave mistake that he made. But at his last parole hearing, the board asked Milton to do some specific things. They asked him to now pour into himself. They asked him to focus on his crime, his victims, and the elements present in his life at the time, and address those factors in the downward spiral that he had been leading at that time. And so you'll see in my brief on page 10, I go through all the classes that he has taken since that hearing. We've had 12 classes, STR, long-term substance abuse, Thinking for a Change, the RDAP, so the residential drug abuse program, and the Bible study class, as well as victim accountability letter training. So he has done everything that the board had asked him to do for himself, to work on himself. He had known once he got in that there was a diagnosis for PTSD and alcohol use disorder from his military service time. But taking these classes helped him confront the thinking that accompanied those diseases, right? And so criminal and addictive thinking forced Milton to confront the ways that he justified his thinking throughout that time period, believing that the provider gave him the kind of permission to behave in that way. And believing at that time that he had control over his alcohol use, which he's admitted before you today he knew he didn't. He knows now that he didn't. So he has confronted the abuse over the family, the manipulation, the intimidation that went on during that time. In the victim accountability letter training, I think he was able to get the tools needed to speak to the loss that was felt across the board by the family. He did Thinking for a Change. I believe he spoke to you all about having to slow down those thinking patterns and recognize and lead with respect and integrity, things he had already kind of put into his classroom, but just with a better understanding. You've seen from us his comprehensive reentry plan with support from LPP, but also you see present the support of all his children. And I want to say, I do truly appreciate his children remembering the good times. But if you have a conversation with Milton, he is more than willing to acknowledge the hard times and the times that he wasn't the best father and husband and friend. But that he has this forgiveness that is not often given to somebody. And I asked the board to look at that type of motivation for a person to maintain change, when you have the forgiveness of your children. Um, Lastly, and this is just because it was not in the brief, I have spoke to Mr. Williams. You all are aware that STR or LPP at any time can deem, if he needs any type of alcohol blockers post-release. He is 100% willing to go with those recommendations, and we know STR has done it before. So because he would kind of have dual support from STR and LPP, there is that extra layer of support for his alcohol use disorder. So we just ask that you look at the total package of the work done before and everything that he has done post the last parole hearing, and offer him a second chance with any conditions the board deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to those in opposition, and the first will be Miss Linda Smith, and she's here. Okay.
I want to say that, first off, I forgiven Milton for taking my sister's life. I forgave him a long time. I couldn't live in peace and not forgive. On October the 21st of 1993, he took away from me what I can never, ever get back. And I'm hearing all the wonderful things that he's done, that he's doing. My sister could never do those things. She loved her husband. She loved her children. She was a very cheerful, happy-go-lucky person. I left home in 1975. My husband was in the Air Force, and we traveled. I miss my sister every day. When we talk about our plans whenever my husband retired from the military, getting together again, doing things that sisters do, and seeing sisters happy, enjoying each other. I long for her. And to come back close enough, didn't go back to New Orleans, but we were in Texas, close enough where I can visit. But whenever I go home, I really couldn't see my sister. There were times, I remember when we were going overseas, she begged me, Linda, don't go. I really want you to stay here, you know. She thought it would be the last time that we saw each other again. That was 1983. It broke my heart to actually leave her.
But before I left, I tried to see her. And I knew that she wanted to see me. She said, "Don't leave until you see me." My husband came back to get us for us to travel overseas. We went to the house the night before to try to see her. Nobody would answer the door, but you could hear the children in the background. The dogs were let out in the yard. My husband told me to go get in the car. He stayed at the door to knock. Finally, Milton came to the door. He let us in. My sister was in bed. Covers pulled up over her head. She would not pull the covers down. He beat her up. That night. I hear all the wonderful 30 years, but she endured more than 10 years of violence. More than 10 years of violence. Through pregnancy, and it sometimes it seemed it didn't matter what she did. There was still violence. We prayed last hearing. I've been praying every day since I heard about this hearing. My prayer was not, "Lord, don't let it get out." My prayer was not, "Lord, let him get out." My prayer was, "Lord, let thy will be done. Let your will be done." You know his heart. I know my hurt. I know my pain. And my hurt and pain has not eased over the years when I think about her. She was 42 years old. And she will forever be 42. I can't get back what's taken. He can get out and he can enjoy a life, a good life. But I can't get back what I had. I watched and I heard the pain of my mother during that time. I remember the nights coming home from work. I had a little peace when I was at work. I didn't have to think about the loss. I didn't have to think about what he'd done to her. But the minute I pulled in my driveway, depression just weighed me down. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes at night, all I could see was the vision of him pointing that gun at her and her falling. And then I would get maybe an hour or two of sleep and then have to go to work the next day. Over the years, since her death, my address has remained the same. My phone number has remained the same. We never heard a word, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it." But as far as not meaning to do it, I feel if you're gonna pick up a gun, you intend to use it. And you intend to inflict harm. So like I said, I forgave him because that's what God expects of me as a Christian woman. But thy will be done. Thy will be done.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman, would you?
Yeah, Ms. Smith, just wanted to clarify something, and thank you so much for your comments this morning. It's very meaningful. He's not allowed by law to contact any of you. That's why you have to. Just so you know.
the comment was really regarding, during the last hearing, we were asked if, and it was addressed to you, had he written a victim's statement? Never.
Yeah, there's a program called Victim Accountability
Yes.
Letter, and he can, and I don't know if he's written one or
Yes.
not, but
Okay.
you can, if you file to ask.
Now, to me, if it's intended to give, then it should be.
Yeah, we can't give it to you. He can't give it to you.
Yes.
Okay, let's move
Warren?
on then.
I think Warden had something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Warden Benoit?
Yes, ma'am, he did write that letter.
Okay, we'll let him know. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Okay, let's listen to Miss Sheila Craig, another sister.
Good morning. Morning. I'm the baby girl. And I want to start when I share by sharing some pictures, because I want to humanize my sister. This is my sister. This is my oldest sister. I want you to see her face. And when you look at that smile, that's who she was. She was a person that when she showed up, there was sunshine and blue skies. Beautiful inside out. This is her. I want to also make a few comments. One, the day my sister was murdered by Milton, I was on the phone with her. Sometimes I would call her before I got off from work. And I used to work for the state of Louisiana. And I would call her towards the end of the day and we'd have a conversation. But this particular day, and it was before 5 o'clock, she and I were talking, and she was telling me about the gentleman who was laying the tile, and that Milton was angry, but she said she was also angry because the man purchased a cheaper tile than what they paid him for. So she was upset with this gentleman and arguing with him about the tile he purchased and was laying down that wasn't what they paid for. While we were on the phone in the conversation, Milton Sr. came home. It wasn't 9 o'clock. It wasn't 10 o'clock. It was around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And Milton Jr. was in the house. And the reason I know that was because they started arguing immediately while she was on the phone with me. And she said, Sheila, I have to go. Milton is angry and I need to deal with this. And it was related to the guy with the tile. And my sister was a person that didn't back down. She felt she was right, she wasn't going to back down. And so they had words back and forth and they argued for hours. Milton Jr. was in the den doing his homework. And when that gun was pulled out, we were no longer on the phone because she had hung up. When Milton Jr. was in the den, they were arguing back and forth. She was standing in the doorway. He was standing partially in the doorway. And his 11-year-old son watched him shoot his mother at point blank range in the head. So much so that the watch she had on had brain matter in it. The reason I know that is because my other niece gave me that watch after my sister died. And I noticed that there was something in there. And it was the matter from my sister's brain. The other thing I want to say is that Milton did not call my mother to tell her what he did. We got a call about 11:30 that night from NOPD. I was there with my mother when the call came. And they said, we need to talk to your mother. There's something wrong with your sister. And I drove my mother to their house while the paramedics tried to revive my sister. And they weren't able to, they had her, she was conscious, but not fully. My mother rode in an ambulance with my sister to the hospital. And as she would say, she could hear my sister gurgling on her blood while she was trying to regain consciousness. They were not able to revive her. I never heard that story until the hearing 2 years ago. My mother's been living with me for years. She's with me now. That was my first time hearing that story. My story was that I went with Milton Jr. to the police station to give his account of what happened. And he shared his story of how his dad shot his mother in the head. Not by accident. The gun didn't fall, as he tried to say. There was nobody on the scaffold when they were doing construction on the house. None of those stories were true. When they called when Lil Milton, he didn't call 911, Lil Milton did. And when he called 911, he tried to get him to tell them it was an accident. But it wasn't an accident because he had pulled the gun on her many times and held it to her head. And as she would tell us, playing Russian roulette. This is not a one-time situation. My mother and I went many times to my sister's house. One time I went with my brother, my nephew, and my 2 babies because my sister called me and she said, Milton beat me with a baseball bat and I can't stand up. I need you to call the police and get over here. And I went. And when I got to the house, he wouldn't let me in. And I told him, you're gonna get out of my way and you're gonna let me get in there and check on my sister. Eventually he moved. When I got inside, he had a gun on the wall. And my nephew says to me, Auntie Sheila, he said, we have to leave right now. My daddy's gonna kill all of us. And I didn't know what to say to that. Because after I walked in there, I realized I put other family members in danger. So I said to my nephew, I said, your daddy loves you. He's not gonna kill you. And my nephew said to me, when my daddy is angry, he doesn't love anybody. Now, the way I know that story is because his previous wife was also abused and beaten and run out of the house naked. The way he started doing plumbing was he worked for Sewage and Water Board. He gambled with coworkers. One of them lost and didn't pay him. He went to work and beat that man with a pipe and he lost his job and then he became a plumber. Now, my sister said she forgave him. I had to because I wouldn't have been able to live my own life if I hadn't. But forgiveness doesn't mean I want him released. Forgiveness doesn't mean he's even ready to be released. And I understand there have been a lot of good things that have happened. I'm not denying that. I'm glad. I'm glad he's teaching plumbing. I'm glad he's doing classes. I'm glad he's working on himself. But when you've had a lifetime of abusing other people, I just question whether it is the right thing. I also know it's not my decision. It's your decision. And you're gonna go away and you're gonna take in everything everyone has said. And what I expect is that you will vote your conscience. And it doesn't mean that you're gonna agree with me. But whatever your decision is, we're gonna accept it. We are going to accept it. And we're gonna walk away from here and still support our family, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, as we have for many, many years.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the mom feel like talking?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, it's here. Miss Evelyn Sturgis.
Sure, that's fine.
Sure. Does it do listen to me? Did you take?
Sure. Good morning.
My name is Beverly Sturgis and I'm mother Karen, my oldest daughter. Oh, this reminds me of the day that he killed my daughter. It was about 10:30 at night. And my other grandchild was at our house and he came in. I think I was ironing, getting myself ready for work the next day. And he told me, he said, Granny, he said, there's a phone call for you, it's the police. I laughed because we tease each other and I thought he was teasing me. And I said, Lord, police not calling me. And I knew I had never been in jail. I've never had anything to do with the police. So they called to tell me that something had happened to my daughter. But he wouldn't tell me what. I tried to get him to tell me. And he said to come over right away. And I was living, this daughter was with me. So she said, Mama, I'll bring you over there. When I got there, they had police cars all around, people out. And I tried to go in the house. They wouldn't let me in. They would not let me go in the house. Because I wanted to see her. I wanted to see what was wrong. And finally, after a long time, they came out and told me that she had been shot by my husband. And they still wouldn't let me go in, but they said they were trying to stabilize her before they take her to the hospital. And they never could stabilize her. So they brought her out, put her in the ambulance, and I sat in the front seat beside the driver. And they had her on the gurney on the side behind the driver of the ambulance. And I could hear some gurgling sounds and mostly probably death sounds. And it was so loud and so, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. When we got there, they took her and they put us in a room. And after we were in there a while, they came and said that she had passed. And they said they asked him, they said he would come and let me go and see her. And when I went in there, her eyes were wide open. And someone closed her eyes. And I could see the wound in her head, in the blood. And that was the most awful sound, most awful thing. And even when she was alive, sometimes she'd fall asleep with her eyes open. And I've never known anybody else that would happen to, but that would happen. And so when she passed, her eyes were open. I'll never forget that moment. But I've forgiven Milton too, long time ago, and it's not revenge. But I just pray that he talks about all the good stuff he's doing, and that's good. But when you kill somebody and you don't have remorse, I've never heard him say, I love my wife, and I'm sorry that I killed her. I'm sorry I took her away from our son. He was 11 years old, almost a baby, in a sense. And he went to jail. My daughter is dead, so that left him an orphan. He didn't have anybody. He didn't have either parent. So my oldest daughter, Linda, she took him to live with her. We went in New Orleans and she was living in Texas. And she came and got him and took him to Texas and raised him. And she treated him like she treated her own children. She was like a real mother to him. And I just love him so much. And I was so sad to see him having to go through life knowing his dad killed his mom and loving his mom and can't have her here to be with. But
Thank you, ma'am. I know this is difficult.
I'm 96 years old. Who knows how long my daughter would live if she hadn't been killed. She may have lived as long as me. She may have lived 96 years or more. But I don't hate Milton. And I'm trusting in God. I prayed about this. I'm not gonna make a decision when he stays when he stays there or when they let him out. I'm trusting in God that when he make his decision, it's gonna be the right decision. And I'm not gonna try to fight it. I'm not gonna worry about it. As long as he don't come around me, I don't want to be anywhere around him. But I pray that all the stuff that he learned, all the good things that he's done, that he will focus on that and not just do the right thing. Just do what's right and make a good life and treat little Milton like he should be treated and love him like he should be loved. He missed a lot of love from his mother and his dad. So he didn't think about when he killed his mom that he wouldn't have any parents, that he was young enough that he needed somebody to take care of him. Right. And then he presented him being with Linda. He didn't want Linda. He didn't want him by Linda. But you're gonna kill his mom and you won't have a choice of where you want to live.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate hearing
I'm
from
not
you
wishing
this
any
morning.
bad happened to him. Because I prayed. When I pray for him too. I pray for my family and I pray for him too. But I just want justice and like God forgives. But he doesn't say that you don't have to pay the consequences of what you do. You do wrong just like a child. They misbehave, my daughters misbehave. I'll forgive them, I don't hate them, but I'm gonna punish them, let them know that that's not right. Let them do the right thing to do. And I've taught them, even if the other person is doing wrong, you stand up for what is right. Even if you're the only one that's standing, you do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Sturgis, we need to move on, ma'am. I'm sorry. Ms. Sturgis, I'm sorry, ma'am. Maybe, it's okay. No, we appreciate hearing from you, but we need to move on. We appreciate it. Thank you for your work.
To do it, they need to move on. Yes, it's okay.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to come back to Mr. Milton.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us, I think we've heard it, but how long you been in jail?
I've been incarcerated 32 years, 1 month, 1 week, and 4 days.
And you mentioned, I think Ms. Hutchinson mentioned the RSAP program and STAR program. You completed which of those, both? Or it's all the same?
We have RDAP in September of 2025 and then STAR throughout 2024 because they go through workbooks. On page 10, I have it listed out for you all, each one, because STAR is long-term, you get notice throughout as you complete each section.
11 months.
How many?
11 months.
11 months, okay.
Well, there's been a lot said today by a lot of different people. And I will ask, I don't have any questions. I think the questions I have been addressed. Mr. Freeman has a question.
Did you serve in Vietnam? Did I see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
Okay.
did an 11-month tour in Vietnam in 1969. I earned 3 medals in Vietnam. I earned a National Defense, Armed Force Expeditionary, and Vietnam Service Medal.
Saw that up there, and that's why I wanted to ask. Appreciate
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Milton, we want to move on. Is there anything that you want to add that hasn't been said? Briefly, if you'd like to add anything, but be brief.
I want to say I'm sorry for the family. And I want to thank my children. I have all 3 of them here for support, for their forgiveness. And it means so much to me for them to just allow me to be able to talk to them. Not only talk to them, there's also extended an olive branch. They even want me to be a grandfather to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren.
All right, I think we are ready to vote. We're prepared to vote. I think Mr. Prater will be voting first.
Yes, sir. If I can get through this. Mr. Williams, I really appreciate all the supporters, and I appreciate those that came forward as the victim's family and all of that. These are tough decisions that we have to make. I really don't know. I don't know what else we could ask you to do that you didn't do. You've stepped up to the plate and done everything, and you're remorseful. I've seen that in what you've written. I've seen it in what you've said. And let's see Mr. Williams behind you that it's, I believe that was the one I called the granddaughter.
Dr. Mead.
I know. Are you talking to Milton Williams Jr.? Which one are you speaking of?
No, the fella in the sweater.
Oh, Dr. Mead.
Dr. Mead.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Okay. I just want to say, I appreciate your words too, sir. I take them very seriously because you're kind of like one of us. You just read a lot of information. You know him better than we do, but you don't really have that much of a dog in the hunt. And so I appreciate the words that you said and the way that you've been represented, Mr. Williams. My vote today is to grant your parole.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr.
Okay, I sit here and we had a case just like this yesterday. We have the family on one side that are victims. We also have the children that are victims. So we sit here with split because we put a lot of emphasis on how our victims feel. And these victims here at headquarters are very loving, obviously. They all gave great statements and they all have stated that they would go by our decision because it's really in God's hand, which I think we all believe. But in today, I too also think you've done all that we can ask you to do while you're in Angola. And I'm going to also vote to grant to the parole project for a minimum of 1 year. I want him there for a minimum of 1 year to get reestablished, and also no contact with the other side of the family unless initiated by them. You're not to contact them unless they initiate it.
Yes, sir.
So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, and Mr. Williams, I saw you at your last parole hearing, and I did suggest some programs that you would benefit from, and you've done that. I agree with my colleagues. I just don't know what else we could ask you to do. I think you're rehabilitated. I do not think you're a public safety risk. So my vote today also is to grant to the Parole Project Transition Plan. And just remember, no contact with any family member, Linda Smith, Sheila Craig, or Mrs. Sturgis, or their family members, spouses, children, whatever, unless it's initiated by them.
Yes, ma'am.
Take that very seriously if you don't do that. So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.